All right, Sammy, let's take a look at your essay Mla format first. So this is correct, except you need to have the same font as the rest of your paper. So make sure you have the same font. You're going to put a space right here. You're going to get rid of that comma right there. And you're going to get rid of that space right there. A disaster to self-destruction. Not exactly sure what that means. Because disaster and self-destruction are kind of the same thing. So maybe a little bit more, I don't know, change that word. I don't know. I think you can maybe rephrase it. So I like actually how you start this. Anyone suffers will never experience this in an ordinary day. Wrong use of a comma here. Could trigger somebody to be upset, mad, or go paranoid. So I kind of like that idea that it's never just an ordinary day, and I think you need to play off that a little bit more in your paper. So you introduce the play and the character and the author, which is awesome. He experiences symptoms close to that. This is where I start to lose the introduction here. So symptoms include difficulty maintaining close relationships, which I think you're pretty much hinting at with your thesis statement. So I like this as your introduction, which is fine, but then you don't talk about it right afterwards. I expect you would talk a little bit about his relationships in the story and how that's a true indication of the symptoms that he has. Here are his symptoms. Here's the thesis statement. Let's go. But instead you dive into his prophecies and then his wife in this sentence. So I don't know where this is coming from. It's not clear that this is really how you're building your introduction. So I need to build a little bit towards that. You got some space issue as well. Oh my gosh, I just lost it. I'll find it. Anyways, so you get down to the symptoms down here, which is fine, and your thesis statement, which I think your thesis statement is really good. So hopefully it plays well once you get into the body of the paper. All right, let's look at your first body paragraph, which should be anxiety. As we move forward. All right, so this feels like if you combine these two, I think you'd have a really strong topic sentence here, Sammy. So think about doing that in the future. Anxiety is a fear of someone or something, which is one of the main symptoms pertaining to post. I feel like you need an outside source here. Like this is where I got this concept from. So work on that. All right, so the whole paragraph is about anxiety that he's feeling. And you are talking about he's so worried he will not become king that he literally becomes a psychopath. That was partly because of his wife, though. I do agree once he killed Duncan, he did go on to kill other people as well. Here's your space problem that I saw. It was just a paragraph down. So there's 2 extra spaces there. There's 2 spaces there when there should be only 1. So make sure you fix those. Good job using outside sources, which is awesome. He punctuated it correctly, which is doubly awesome. All right, this is where you're going to lose me. Macbeth has multiple panic attacks when he is killing Duncan. The guards wake up. So this is obviously a run-on sentence. I don't know how you're getting panic attacks. Now, he's obviously having anxiety after he kills Duncan. But this is much later. This is after he kills Duncan. In the next scene, then he does this. But then your quote is from the previous scene. And then you automatically jump to the next example, which is Banquo. So if you're going to say this is an example, you got to explain it a little bit in relation to the symptom and how it's all going to work together. So you definitely got to explain that whole process before you jump right into Banquo in this particular case. And then with your paragraph on Banquo, as you talk about anxiety, he does fear him, comma, he strongly states, comma. He does fear him. But how does that really lead into anxiety? Because it says his anxiety also involves his emotional behavior when he changed every aspect of his craving for power. I don't know what that means. So you got to explain this concept a little bit more, because I think you're trying to lead it back into this, but it's not making sense right now as it relates to anxiety. Because I don't think of anxiety and emotional behavior as the same thing. So don't know if you're trying to tie it together. I'm not sure. So the power he craves allows a change in his close relationships. So then you jump into, I think it's an okay transition statement, because then you jump into relationships. But I think this paragraph, if I'm following your introduction, should be about changes in behavior towards emotional reactions, which we'll see if this is actually what it is. All right, when you have sentences like this, though, to start off your paragraph, it can change either for the good or the bad. Well, you know specifically that we're going to talk about bad. So that seems like kind of a ridiculous thing to say. Again, look at places that you have more than one space here. You need to fix those things as we go throughout this. So this is about emotional changes. Macbeth's change in emotional behavior changes drastically and eventually starts to care more for himself and the kingdom than anyone else. So I kind of get that. I wish I could see this before I see this, because this makes a lot more sense. This makes a lot more sense once I read this. Also, think about word choice, change and changes right next to each other, and then you have changing down here. So you might want to, and changing right here. So use that word a ton. So you might want to, the altering of emotional reactions or the lessening of emotional reactions. I don't know. Because reactions and behavior seem like two different concepts. So I'm not exactly sure which one you're going to focus on or whether there is really a difference. All right. First problem is a lot of this is just plot. So you talk about in the beginning, he basically lets her control everything he does, or per se, she is the one who wears the pants in the relationship. Now, this is kind of a loaded statement. He learns more about himself by not listening to his wife. I think it's more about him getting power, and now that he has power, he doesn't need his wife anymore, because his wife was kind of the pusher, and now he doesn't need to be pushed anymore. So I think you might want to look at that a little bit, which causes the power shift to change in their marriage. Again, you're just plot. Good example, by the way. Punctuation and space problems here. I don't know what this means. His moderate behavior. Macbeth presents he gained the power in their marriage due to his moderate behavior. I don't know what that means. You have to make sure that's specific. Here's another statement that I wouldn't agree with. He felt ashamed with Banquo's murder. How would you justify that? I don't know how he feels shame at all. I'm pretty sure he's happy he's dead. In fact, he says, "Thank God you killed Banquo, even though Flance escaped. At least Banquo's dead." That doesn't seem like shame to me. So, and maybe you could argue that the ghost of Banquo was the manifestation of his guilt, but that's not what you're saying right now. And after you already said he killed Macduff's son and wife, he sent murderers to kill Macduff's family. Well, you already just said that, so you don't need that statement in there. This is true, but how does that relate to his illness? Striving for power gave him aching, unwanted flashbacks, which did something. You didn't finish that sentence, so obviously need to make that transition strong. All right, so I like the idea of setting up this flashback. I wish this is your topic sentence. I wish that was a little bit stronger. And as you talk about the idea of his traumatic events and going through recurrence of one-on memories, I like the quote that you used. I think the quote is very appropriate for what you're trying to say, so that part is good. But then how you explain it is not so great. Can only ruin someone to dig deeper into that barrier. You might want to clean that language up. That doesn't really make sense. And then here's a sentence fragment. And this would work better as two sentences. I'm sorry, as one sentence combined as well, which I think that's a period there. Yeah, that's a period there. So I want to change that punctuation, try to make it one sentence. But I'm not getting a sense, again, that you're tying this back into your thesis enough, that you need to dig deeper, as you say, dig deeper into why this makes sense for a thesis. All right, so, sorry, we're going to go back to your top and your thesis statement. So, all right, never mind. So flashbacks and intrusive memories is one thing. I was like, isn't there supposed to be 4? body paragraphs, but you kind of combine those two together. So let's look at your conclusion. All right, so you need to start with restating your thesis statement. I would take all of this out. This is kind of, or move it at least, to the end. This is kind of your thesis statement. Again, you got to watch how many times you have more than enough spaces here. Watch those places where you have multiple spaces in between words. So you have all of your body paragraphs are summarized, although they're very short summaries. I would really try to elongate some of these summaries here. You can't use you in your paper. Really makes someone wonder, don't use really, how much something could affect a person. Notice the very vague language here at the end. You want to make sure that you're specific and engaging. In the end, someone can either be a hero or villain. This is a run-on sentence. Macbeth was a tragic hero, which doesn't really tell us much. We kind of already know he's a tragic hero, so I don't know how effective that is. This looks to be in the right order. So good job with that. So I'm one of the few that actually got the works cited page right. All right, Sammy, not a bad paper. We just need to organize a little better and make sure things are kind of in their proper place and a little bit more tie into the thesis. But other than that, it's not a bad start.